Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today the 1967 Washington quarter dollar is one of the most fascinating coins in American history because of what was happening in the United States during that time. To understand the story of this coin we first have to go back to the early 1960s. For decades American quarters were struck in 90% silver. But in 1965 the United States Mint made a huge change. Silver prices were climbing and the government decided to remove silver from circulating coins. That decision created the clad quarter, which was made from a copper-nickel composition instead of silver. By 1967 the Washington quarter had already fully transitioned to this new clad design. But even though the coin contained no silver, the year has become one of the most collectible and valuable dates for modern quarters. Why? The reason is tied to coin shortages, minting practices, and the absence of mint marks during the mid-60s. In 1965 through 1967 the mint was fighting a nationwide coin shortage. To speed up production the mint removed mint marks from all coins. That means the 1967 Washington quarter does not have a P or a D or an S on the coin. Collectors at the time could not tell where the coin was minted. This was a dramatic change and made the coins of this 3-year period unique in the long history of United States coinage. But what makes the 1967 quarter especially interesting is the number of varieties, errors, and high-grade survivors that exist today. Billions of these coins were struck for circulation. That means most examples are only worth their face value of 25 cents. However, when a coin survives in exceptional condition or shows a rare minting mistake, it can be worth an incredible amount of money to collectors. Let's talk about condition first. The grading scale for coins runs from 1 to 70, with mint state coins starting at grade 60 and flawless perfection being 70. A regular circulated 1967 quarter will almost always be worth only a quarter. But if you have a coin that was never spent, that stayed in mint state condition, the value can rise dramatically. For example, a 1967 Washington quarter graded MS-65 by a major grading service may sell for $15 to $20 today. If you go one step higher to MS-66 the value can jump to $50 or more. At MS-67 the population of surviving coins becomes very small. These can bring hundreds of dollars at auction. And the absolute finest known examples graded MS-68 or better can sell for well over $1,000 each. Now let's look at special strikes. The mint also experimented with special mint sets during these years instead of proof coins. These sets were sold to collectors and included higher quality strikes with better surfaces and stronger detail than the coins used in everyday change. A 1967 special mint set quarter in high grade can sell for between $20 and $100 depending on condition. Even more exciting are the rare errors and varieties. Some coins were struck off-center, some showed double die obverse details, and others were struck on the wrong metal planchet. One of the most famous is the 1967 quarter struck on a silver planchet left over from earlier years. If you ever find one of these it could be worth thousands of dollars. Another example is a quarter struck on a dime planchet, which makes the coin smaller and lighter. These error coins are heavily sought after by specialists and the price depends on how dramatic the mistake is and how well preserved the coin remains. Auction records show just how high values can climb. A 1967 Washington quarter graded MS-67 Plus by PCGS with brilliant luster once sold for over $8,000. Another rare error example struck on a silver planchet brought nearly $10,000 at auction. These kinds of numbers prove that even modern clad quarters can bring huge money when the right combination of rarity and condition comes together. So what does this mean for collectors and treasure hunters today? It means you should never dismiss the quarters from the 1960s as just pocket change. Check every coin carefully. Look for sharp detail, clean surfaces, and the absence of scratches or marks. If you suspect you have a high-grade coin or an unusual error, you may want to submit it to a grading service for professional certification. That step can make the difference between a 25-cent coin and one worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In summary, the 1967 Washington quarter is a coin with an incredible story. Born out of the silver crisis and national coin shortage, it represents a major turning point in United States coinage. We are diving deep into the story and value of the 1968 Washington quarter dollar coin. At first glance this coin may look like just another common quarter in your pocket change, but the truth is that certain examples of the 1968 quarter are worth far more than 25 cents. Some can even bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition, rarity, and unique varieties. Let's begin with the history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design features the profile portrait of Washington on the obverse with the word Liberty above his head and the national motto "In God We Trust" on the left side. The reverse shows an eagle with outstretched wings clutching arrows and an olive branch. This design remained in place from 1932 all the way until 1998 with only minor changes. Now 1968 was a particularly important year for United States coins because just a few years earlier in 1965 the mint had removed silver from the quarter. Before that date quarters were made of 90% silver. Beginning in 1965 and continuing through 1968 and beyond, the mint switched to a copper-nickel clad composition. That means the quarter is made of an inner layer of pure copper with an outer layer of copper-nickel. So unfortunately most 1968 quarters have no silver value, however there are still factors that make some of them extremely collectible. First of all, the mint mark. In 1968 coinage the mint mark was restored to the obverse side of the coin, just behind Washington's hair tie. Quarters from that year can carry a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. There are also Philadelphia issues that carry no mint mark. Circulation strike coins from Philadelphia and Denver are the most common. They were made in the hundreds of millions. These coins in circulated condition are typically only worth their face value. But if you happen to find one in pristine mint state condition with no wear, sharp details, and beautiful luster, the value can rise quickly. Mint state examples graded MS-65 can sell for between $15 and $30. At MS-66 the value might reach into the $100 range. And the real money comes in at the top population coins. At MS-67 and higher these coins can be worth several $100s or more because of their rarity in such condition. Next we need to talk about the San Francisco Mint. In 1968 the San Francisco Mint did not produce circulation strike quarters, but it did strike special proof coins intended for collectors. These proof quarters were included in proof sets sold by the mint. They are easy to recognize because of their mirror-like fields and frosted design elements. Regular proof 1968, South quarters are common, but cameo and deep cameo proofs with strong contrast are highly sought after. Prices for these range anywhere from $10 for a standard proof up to a few $100s for a flawless deep cameo in the highest grades. Another fascinating area is minting errors and varieties. Collectors love dramatic mistakes, and 1968 quarters have been found with off-center strikes, double strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets. Depending on how dramatic the error is and how appealing it looks to collectors, these can range from $50 all the way up to several $1,000s. There are also double die varieties known for 1968. The Washington quarter has been one of the most collected and studied coins in American history. Today we are talking about a very specific one, the 1988 D Washington quarter dollar. This coin may look like just another quarter you see in your pocket change, but in the world of coin collecting it carries an important place and can sometimes be worth much more than face value. The Washington quarter series began in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. The design features the portrait of the first president on the obverse, with the American eagle on the reverse. Over the years, small variations and mint marks have given collectors many reasons to search through their change. By 1988 the quarter was still made of a copper-nickel clad composition, not silver, but certain examples from that year, especially from the Denver Mint, have become desirable. The 1988 D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, as shown by the small letter D just behind Washington's neck on the obverse. Over 596 million of these coins were produced, which makes it a very common coin overall. But as collectors know, it is not always the mintage that determines value. Condition, rarity of varieties, and special mint errors are what drive up the price. That if you find a 1988 D Washington quarter in average circulated condition, it will usually only be worth its face value of 25 cents. Even in uncirculated condition it may only be worth a couple of dollars. However, the story does not end there. High-grade examples certified by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC can command much higher premiums. Coins that grade at Mint State 66 or Mint State 67 can sell for $50, $100, or even more, depending on market demand. The record auction price for a 1988 D Washington quarter in top condition has reached over $1,000, which shows how much collectors will pay for the very best examples. In addition to condition rarity, error coins from this year are especially valuable. Collectors look for off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, and other unusual mistakes. Some 1988 D Washington quarters with major errors have sold for hundreds of dollars. It is always worth examining your coins carefully under good light or with a magnifying glass to see if you might have one of these rare pieces. The current market value for the 1988 D Washington quarter continues to be steady. Regular uncirculated examples are affordable for new collectors, while top-graded coins and rare errors continue to bring strong prices at auction. This balance makes the coin interesting both for beginners and advanced collectors. To summarize, the 1988 D Washington quarter dollar is a coin that most people would overlook, but in numismatics it has a hidden story. With a huge mintage it is common in circulation, but in pristine condition or with unique mint errors it can be worth a lot of money. A coin you find in your change might only be 25 cents, but if you find a perfect example or a rare error, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The Washington quarter has been one of the most iconic coins in American history since it was first minted in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. Among the many years of this series, the 1981 P Washington quarter has become a fascinating subject for coin collectors and treasure hunters. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary coin you might find in your pocket change, but the history, errors, and condition of these coins can make some of them worth far more than their face value of just 25 cents. The 1981 quarter minted at Philadelphia, marked by the absence of a mint mark under the motto "In God We Trust," was struck in large numbers. In fact, over 601 million quarters were produced at the Philadelphia Mint in that year. Because of this huge mintage, most circulated examples are still only worth their face value today. However, when we dig deeper into uncirculated coins, high-grade examples, and rare errors, that is where the true value lies. Collectors always search for pristine examples that have been preserved with full details, sharp strikes, and no signs of wear. Professional grading services have recorded some 1981 P quarters reaching grades as high as Mint State 67 and Mint State 68. In these conditions, the value jumps dramatically because of rarity. While most 1981 P quarters might be worth less than $1 in average condition, coins graded MS 67 or higher have sold at auction for hundreds of dollars. For example, one exceptional piece sold for over $2,000 because of its superb quality. Error coins from 1981 are also highly prized. Some quarters display striking mistakes such as off-center strikes, double die errors, or dramatic misalignments. These types of errors are rare and can transform an ordinary coin into a collectible worth hundreds or even thousands depending on how extreme the error is. Collectors love unique pieces, and the 1981 P quarter provides some spectacular examples. Another key factor in value is the coin's luster and eye appeal. Coins with brilliant surfaces, no spotting or tarnish, and strong details are always in demand. Even though the Philadelphia Mint produced a massive number of quarters that year, only a small fraction survive today in the very best grades. This scarcity at the high end drives prices upward. Now, if we look at the current market value, as of today most circulated 1981 P Washington quarters are still only worth 25 cents. But uncirculated examples in Mint State 65 typically sell for around $10 to $20. Mint State 66 coins may reach $50 to $100, and in the rare case of Mint State 67 or higher, the coin can cross into the hundreds and sometimes even more depending on demand at auction. Error examples vary widely, with common minor errors worth a few dollars, and dramatic misstrikes commanding several hundred or even more than $1,000. So the lesson here is simple. Always check your pocket change carefully. What may look like just another quarter could in fact be a hidden gem. The 1981 P. Washington quarter is a perfect reminder that small coins can carry big value when condition, rarity, and errors come together. We are diving into one of the most fascinating coins of modern American history, the 1979 D. Washington quarter. At first glance it may look like an ordinary piece of change you could find in your pocket, but some examples of this coin have become highly sought after by collectors, carrying values that go far beyond their face value of just 25 cents. The Washington quarter itself was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design created by John Flanagan has remained an iconic part of American coinage ever since, and it continued all the way into the late 1970s with only slight modifications. The year 1979 marks an interesting period because the United States Mint in Denver struck hundreds of millions of these quarters, yet within that massive production are some rare examples that collectors are willing to pay serious money to own. Let's talk about the basics first. The 1979 D. Washington quarter was minted in Denver and can be identified by the small D mint mark located on the front of the coin just to the right of Washington's ponytail. The composition of this coin is the standard clad mixture of copper and nickel, which replaced the 90% silver content after 1964. For everyday circulation, these coins were nothing special, but condition and striking details are everything in the world of numismatics. Most 1979 D quarters in circulated grades are worth only their face value, 25 cents. If you find one in your change, chances are it has been through decades of use and wear. However, when we start looking at coins in uncirculated condition, the story changes dramatically. A bright, lustrous example with no signs of wear and sharp details can already be worth several dollars to collectors. The real excitement begins when you reach mint state grade certified by professional grading services. Coins graded MS-65, meaning gem uncirculated, can be valued in the range of $10 to $15. Move up to MS-66 and you may see values rise into the $50 to $70 range. At MS-67 the rarity skyrockets, with prices often exceeding several $100s. Only a small number of these coins have survived in such pristine condition, which is why collectors are willing to pay a premium, but the top of the market is truly eye-opening. A 1979 D. Washington quarter in superb gem condition, certified at MS-67 plus or higher, has been known to sell for well over $1,000 at major auctions. This shows how a common coin can transform into a valuable treasure simply because of preservation and rarity at the highest grade levels. There are also error coins to watch out for. During such high mintage years, mistakes at the mint were not uncommon. Off-center strikes, double strikes, die cracks, and other unusual minting errors can make a 1979 D quarter worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on severity and collector interest. These errors are far scarcer than normal strikes and they always command attention from specialists. So what does this mean for the current market value today? As of now, in average circulated condition, a 1979 D quarter is still only worth 25 cents. In uncirculated condition you can expect anywhere from a few dollars up to around 50 depending on grade. The finest known example, we are diving into one of the most interesting coins in modern American history, the 1994 P. Washington quarter dollar minted in Philadelphia. This coin may seem common at first glance, but certain examples and varieties have proven to be worth far more than just 25 cents. The Washington quarter has been a staple of U.S. coinage since 1932. It was originally designed by John Flanagan to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. Over the years the coin has undergone changes, but the 1994 issue belongs to the original eagle reverse type that had been in use since the 30s before the state quarters program began in 1999. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 800 million Washington quarters in 1994. That means finding one in circulation is not rare, but condition and errors make the difference between pocket change and serious money. Let us first talk about condition. Most 1990 for P quarters will only be worth their face value when circulated. However, if you find one in uncirculated mint state condition, the value increases dramatically. A standard mint state 65 graded example can bring in a few dollars, while higher grades such as mint state 67 or even 68 can sell for hundreds of dollars. These grades are rare because finding a flawless coin with strong luster, no scratches and sharp strike is very difficult. Now let us move on to special varieties. One of the most famous things collectors look for in Washington quarters are double dies. These occur when the design Is struck with a misaligned or doubled hub. Some 1994p double die obverse and reverse varieties have been reported, and those coins can sell anywhere from $50 to several hundred depending on the clarity of the doubling. Another important factor is mint errors. For example, off-center strikes, clipped planchets and broad strikes from 1994p can fetch strong premiums. A dramatic off-center strike can bring in $100 to $200 or more depending on how visible the date and design are. Proof-like and full strike examples from 1994p are also desirable. Although Philadelphia did not strike official proof coins that year, sometimes coins come out with a strong mirrored surface called proof-like. These are scarce and attract collectors who are willing to pay top dollar. Auction records are especially telling. In recent years, a 1994p Washington quarter graded MS68 by PCGS has sold for over $1,000. That is right, a common-looking coin could be worth over $1,000 if it is nearly perfect. That is why searching rolls and checking your pocket change can pay off. So what about the current market value today? As of now, circulated 1994p Washington quarters are still only worth 25 cents. Uncirculated examples in MS65 range from $5 to $10. MS66 coins usually sell for around $30 to $50, and MS67 coins can go from $200 up to $500. MS68 is the holy grail, and those can reach the $1,000 mark or more. When collectors compete at auction, error coins will vary depending on rarity and severity. Minor misstrikes may sell for $20 to $50, but dramatic mint errors can reach into the hundreds. To summarize, the 1994p Washington quarter dollar is a modern coin that still carries historical interest. While most examples are worth face value, collectors and treasure hunters know that high-grade or error examples can bring in big money. This is why examining every coin closely under good light is essential. So the next time you come across a 1994 quarter, do not dismiss it as ordinary. Take a close look, check the surfaces, the strike, and search for any possible errors. You may just be holding a valuable piece of history worth far more than 25 cents.